No, a fruitarian lifestyle is a lifestyle for Homo sapiens. We're the most advanced neurological species on the planet. I think I've told you about some cases where, one case, the ambulance brought her here, and she was an advanced MS case, and she was prone, stiff, flat on a stretcher, couldn't turn her head to say, "Hi, Robert," stiff as a board. Oh, I'm only about that thick. And so I put her all on fruit. And 2 months later, she could wheel herself in the wheelchair, and she could feed herself, sit up, all those things. So I wanted to put more muscle on her because she was so thin. And generally speaking, I raised horses growing up, and we used alfalfa for muscles. You know, I knew Ann Wigmore, and I asked her, "Why did you pick wheat? Alfalfa is a superior plant," and Shackley knew that. Alfalfa is an incredible plant, particularly for muscle building, minerals, you know, things like that. So I put her on a green drink, and I put her on a salad. And you know what happened to her? She couldn't move anymore. She went back to being an invalid. So I put her back on fruit. And you have to understand the power and the magnetics fruit has to turn on the body's nervous system, especially Homo sapiens nervous systems. Someone asked me a question about wormwood. You know, one of the problems that we face here is the toxicity or the concept of toxicity in herbs. And this is true. There are a few. Dr. Christopher has a herb in his book called Peruvian bark. I've never contacted them, but they need to remove that herb. In low dosages, they claim that it's a neurological rebuilder. However, it is where we get quinine. And I overdosed on that and ended up in a coma. And this is a major neurotoxin. Outside of that, you know, not too many herbs are toxic. You'll see in my lymphatic formulas, I use poke root, bloodroot. These bloodroot will pull a tumor right out of your body. It's what black salve's made from. But I've used gallons of these on people, on little old ladies that are 80 years old and 80 pounds. And never had any toxic effects. Wormwood, I don't use that extensively. I use it for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, to kill the major, bigger worms in the body. They say it's good for cancer, but I can tell you, I don't use it extensively, but it should be used for a couple of weeks or a month to kill any worms, flukes, the bigger boys, you know, tapes, things like this. Another question this lady has, I assume it's a lady, could be a gentleman, sorry. Carrot juice and eating fruits have changed my skin color. Yeah, I mean, you know, carrot juice has been known to do that with the keratin. I'm not a real fan of carrot juice. I mean, that was back in the 60s and 70s. Dr. Jensen woke up to high PSA levels of 1600 and found out he had cancer all through the lower back and prostate. Put himself on a 3 or 4 month carrot juice fast. I've got the video. He videoed himself. But that is an inferior juice, and it's not a good detoxifying juice. It's a starch. And if you Google 256-year-old Chinese man, and just Google that, and you'll come up with this Chinese guy that lived 256 years old, died in 1933. And he claimed he never ate anything that grows below the ground. Well, that's starch. And starch, it really isn't healthy for anybody, to tell you the truth. Although give a carrot to a horse, they love it. This gentleman claims his shoulder hurts every time he drinks apple juice or takes herbs. Well, that's probably connected to your GI tract. You know, your gut tissue, your GI tract, and especially the colon, is like an electronic or a neurological board that infiltrates the whole body there. And particularly even the stomach. The stomach is, or the solar plexus area, is the ganglia for the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is the sympathetic, parasympathetic. That runs everything. That's your all involuntary functions of the body, including breathing, is controlled by that system. And that system is controlled by the neurotransmitters of the adrenal glands. Even reaches up in the brain, the jaw. And it's all this involuntary movement. That's very important because we're going to be talking about that nervous system when it comes to autism. And the tremendous adrenal problems we face in children and the kidney weaknesses. And you're seeing this on TV all the time now about kidney transplants. And they're taking it from the same genetic tree. I find there's so much ignorance in allopathic medicine about that. It's not even funny, no offense. But it's time we raise ourselves up out of this. It's a cesspool of ignorance here. Digestive enzymes. Yeah, I know, and people talk about systemic enzymes. I don't mess with enzymes. I just don't take the time. If you feel better on them, I don't recommend digestive enzymes. I just don't recommend messing with God. You'll be healthier and you'll feel better and more energetic if you forget that treatment-based thinking and go into detoxification, the golden key that unlocks the door. And I'm going to do another video following this one on the healing crisis and what to expect when you go through this, because some people are going through some hard times. And we're pretty aggressive detoxifiers, but some people are very toxic. I've got babies on these programs that don't go through too much, and then I have some that go through a lot. We have all the way to 100-year-old people on these programs. I pulled people out of nursing homes for years, although some families didn't appreciate that. This gentleman writes me, I think it's a gentleman, it could be a female. Oh, it's a female, sorry, sweetheart. About her daughter, 13 years, born without some permanent teeth. I think you're going to see a lot of this. I think if you look at the women and their pelvic areas and you look at the skeletal structure of man, you can tell that the pituitary is really going in people because people are getting taller or they're stunted growths, they're not growing properly. The parathyroid, which deals with calcium utilization of the body, is so weak that they're not developing their connective tissue or their skeletal tissue or teeth. In this case, I would keep her on raw foods. I would definitely hit the pituitary with a glandular, and I would hit the parathyroid with a glandular, and really start building up her body's ability to utilize calcium and to rebuild structure. There's an etheric, it's kind of like the phantom limbs. These poor kids coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, I was in the Vietnam era. It's all sad stuff, you know, war and killing each other. It's all sad stuff. But blowing off arms and hands and legs, this is just sick to me. But when you talk to someone that's had a limb missing, they have what's called a phantom limb syndrome, where you can actually feel the limb still there. Well, it is, etherically. And so this is where you can get tissue to regrow. I've had a lady came in with a thyroidectomy. They left a little piece of it left, and I got the whole thyroid to grow back. See, the body can regrow back tissue in a high alkalizing, high energetic medium. You can't rebuild tissue in an acid medium. You can't cure cancer in an acid medium because cancer isn't a disease. It's a damaged cell by acids. These aren't diseases. And if you can get out of this concept of diseases, you'll do yourself a tremendous favor. This is, man's locked into that stupidity, and there's nothing disease-oriented. There's decay, but acids create decay. And understanding the rule of acids would go a long way to help people understand what's going on here. So this is what you would need to do. I would take her in at 13. She's going to have kidney and adrenals. She's going to have lymphatic problems, neurological problems, weaknesses because of the adrenals. And so watch her blood pressure. She could run low blood pressure. Blood sugars are common problems with kids now because of the adrenals. And so it goes on and on and on and on. This is why health and regeneration are the only focuses that will pull man up out of this decay, this genetic decay, and those that are in a cellular decay from high acidosis of years of suppressing their kidney and adrenal functions. It's the only way to get out of it. It's the only way to find a cure. You're not going to find a cure by treating symptoms. You sit by me in my desk, and I invite you, oncology nurse, to do that. You can come in and sit and see another side of this. You'll want to throw up or you'll get very mad.